Part 39. My evil imperial wife is too arrogant, trash against the world, BlackBelly evil wife is too arrogant. Author, Lan by Gezi. Chapter 381. Ming Xiu didn't care about the disgust in the eyes of the purple-clothed man, as long as he could meet his requirements. Yes, by the way, the swordsmen of the demon race will be solved, and none of the sea race will be left. It's really troublesome. The purple-clothed man glanced at Ming Xiu with a cold face, and in an instant he changed into the appearance of Lance. Lum Wan's eyes showed a bit of surprise. The man in purple not only transformed into Lance's body shape, but also had the same temperament. Lead them all away. Ming Xiu raised his eyebrows and added with a smile. The purple-clothed man glared at him, and rushed out of the dark blue water ring in a flash. After rushing out of the water ring, the strong man of the sea tribe was overjoyed, while the strong man of the demon tribe looked at him with fear. "Where is our master?" a demon sword saint asked. Lance looked at several demons with a warm smile and said, "Your master has already gone to the underworld to report." You. The demon powerhouses were shocked, and they took out magical weapons to attack. The people of the sea tribe surrounded Lance to counterattack, and Lance shot a blue sword light, and all the swordsmen in the demon tribe were killed by the sword energy. "Let's go." Lance turned his head and said to the people of the sea clan. "Yes." Then the people of the sea clan turned into a few streamers and quickly got out of the Luagui River, and the remaining few swordsmen of the demon clan frantically chased after them. After the two parties left, Lum Wan and Ming Xiu jumped out of the Luagui River after a long time. The people in the formation all breathed a sigh of relief when they saw the two coming out. Before they saw the two groups of Sea Clan chasing and killing those who left Luogaihe, they wondered if Ming Xiu and Lum Wan were dead. Not long after the two came out of the water, the elders of the 5 major sects also arrived. The elder of Tianji Palace looked at Ming Xiu gently and asked, "Qi Xiu, tell me what happened before." Ming Xiu stepped forward and cupped his hands to tell all the events and changes in Luogaihe. Then he added, "I went into the water with junior sister Lu of the Beiji sect to investigate, and found that there is a layer of water ring formed by deep water pressure under the Luagui River. We can't go down." The two leaders of the demon clan and the sea clan, however, the other person could not dive in. Junior sister Lu and I were found by several demon cultivators while we were lurking and were attacked and injured. We fled to the upper and lower reaches of the river separately. They didn't chase after them, and only came out of the water after the powerful auras left. Ming Xiu's face was also pale at this time, and it looked like he had suffered internal injuries, and the red clothes on Lum Wan's shoulders had dried up deep blood stains. "You are too reckless. Both the demon clan and the sea clan have strong sword saints coming. You just don't care about your own lives when you go to investigate." Fortunately, they didn't continue to chase and kill. The elder's complexion changed, and he couldn't help but say something to the two of them. Qi Xiu was the #1 disciple of their heavenly secret sect, and his status in the sect was higher than his. Both of them humbly listened to the elders of the Tianji sect. "Do you know what spirits are born underwater?" asked the elder of Jianzhong. "We don't know, but among the leaders of the demon clan and the sea clan, only the sword saint of the sea clan left with the clan, and the spirit must have already arrived in his hands," Ming Xiu replied. He paused and said, "Shen Mufeng, the leader of the demon clan, was seriously injured by Lan Si of the sea clan, and was later killed by junior sister Lu. Lum Wan had to exchange Shen Mufeng's body for the Zongmen's contribution value, so he couldn't have too many flaws. He had to help him get over it." What? The elders of several sects were in disbelief when they heard that Lum Wan had killed Shen Mufeng. The disciples of several sects looked at Lum Wan like a ghost, and they couldn't believe it in their hearts. The elders of the 8 Extreme sect knew about Lum Wan. After all, the sect master and Aorong attached great importance to her. "Lu girl, is this true?" Reporting to the elder, he was seriously injured with only 1 breath left. "I set up a killing formation when I was dodging. After he broke in, I used the killing formation to kill him. Lum Wen replied calmly. A disciple of your sword sect cultivation base can kill a strong sword saint. The elder of Tianji Palace frowned and asked. The most important thing is that Shen Mufeng is not an ordinary sword sage powerhouse. He is the 10th person on the most wanted list. Even if he is seriously injured, he cannot be killed by a sword sect. Lum Wan's mind moved, and Shen Mufeng's body appeared in front of several elders. When he broke into the formation, his internal organs were seriously damaged. I also killed him by sneak attack and formation technique. Several elders immediately squatted down to inspect Shen Mufeng's body, and then their expressions changed. Shen Mufeng's internal organs were burned by the spirit fire, and from the breath, it was caused by a swordsman-level person, and the traces left on his body are indeed injured by the formation, the elder of the sword sect said. Did Lum Wen kill Shen Mufeng alone? The elder of Tianji Palace looked at Ming Xiu in silence and asked. Ming Xiu nodded. Junior sister Lu and I have always acted separately. When I found out that the fluctuation of the fight rushed past, junior sister Lu had already killed Shen Mufeng. You will demonstrate the formation of killing Shen Mufeng. The elder of Hao Yuezong ordered Lum Wen with a sullen face. They already knew that Lum Wen injured the leading disciple of Hao Yuezong, and he didn't believe that this little girl could set up such a high-level killing formation, so he found fault. Lum Wen raised his eyebrows with a chuckle and asked, You are the elder of the Haoyu sect, and I am a disciple of the Beiji section. What qualifications do you have to order me? Her indifferent attitude and arrogant tone made the disciples present couldn't help but take a breath. This woman is really crazy. She dares to talk like this with the elders with the strength of Juggernaut. You. The elders of Haoyu sect obviously did not expect Lum Wen to dare to refute him, and in a fit of anger, a force of sword saints pressed against Lum Wen. A junior dares to be presumptuous with this old man. I see you are courting death. Ming Xiu's eyes turned cold. Just as he was about to stand up, he was stopped by Lum Wan's look. She took out a handful of formation flags, quickly formed a seal, grabbed a handful of spirit stones and sucked it in her hand, and a formation constructed of transparent runes immediately protected her. As soon as the pressure of the elder Hao Yuezong fell on the formation, it was automatically absorbed by the formation, and only 20% was applied to Lum Wen, but she was also carried down by her. The 5th level defense formation, the elder of Tianjizong said in surprise. Older Donglin, do you think our Beiji sect is easy to bully? The elder of the Beiji sect snorted coldly, blocking Lum Wen and releasing his sword saint coercion. He didn't quite believe that Lum Wen could set up a high-level formation, but she dared to contradict Elder Donglin, and he wanted to see what confidence she had. Now that I saw that she could set up a 5th-level formation, I was excited for a while, and naturally I couldn't watch her being oppressed by the elders of other sections. My evil imperial wife is too arrogant, trash against the world, BlackBelly evil wife is too arrogant. Author, Lan by Gezi. Chapter 382. The elder of Hao Yuezong removed the coercion with an extremely ugly expression. Obviously, he did not expect Lum Wen to be a 5th-level formation mage. It is rude for your disciples of the 8 extreme sect to not distinguish between high and low. The so-called respect the old and love the young. You don't love the young, how can I respect the old? Lum Wen asked sarcastically. Humph, you are eloquent, but I want to see how long you can be arrogant. The elder general of Hao Yuezong snorted coldly with the murderous intent in his eyes. He had indeed overstepped Lum Wan's orders before the elders of the 8 extremes sect, but being so contradicted by a junior, and it was not easy to kill her on the spot, the anger in his heart kept simmering. The disciples of our Beiji sect don't bother you, Donglin, you care. The elder of the Beiji sect looked slightly cold. The elder of Jianzhong thought about it and persuaded, okay, Donglin, why do you care about a junior? It's important for us to do business first. The elders of the 8 extreme sect had already regarded Lum Wen as a treasure at this time, and Elder Donglin couldn't do anything to her at all. The two sects have had grudges for a long time, and the people of the Beiji sect are very protective of their shortcomings. Otherwise, Lum Wan would not dare to be so arrogant, and it would not be a wise move to continue to find faults. What's more, such a young 5th level formation mage should be cultivated as a treasure even if they are replaced by their sword sect. Geniuses have their own arrogance. Lum Wan's ability to resist Juggernaut's coercion by himself just now shows that he is still somewhat capable, and it is nothing to be arrogant in his opinion. The elders of Haoyu sect suppressed the anger, but the matter of Lum Wan injuring his disciple and arguing against him would never be the case. He smiled sinisterly in his heart, and when the 6 major sects competed, he must let the genius of the sect kill her to avoid future troubles. The elder of Tianji Palace turned his mind and instructed the disciples, "You rest in place first, let's go down and have a look." Yes. Then the elders of the 5 sects jumped into the Luogui River to investigate. After all, the purpose of their trip was to explore spiritual things. A day later, another wave of other sword saints from the 6 major sects came, and together they destroyed the water ring and entered the bottom of the river. In the end, of course, there was nothing to be gained, and he could only leave in disappointment, but in his heart he believed that Lan Si took away the spiritual object and scolded the Sea clan. Lum Wan and other disciples of the 8 extreme sect also followed the 2 elders who came to Luogaihe and left with flying instruments. On the flying instrument, Gu Xiu looked at Lum Wan with envy. "Junior sister Lu, you are very lucky. If you meet Shen Mufeng who is about to die and kill him, you can exchange for 100,000 sect contribution points," Jin Se said with a smile. Lum Wan smiled and replied, "It's just a coincidence. If it wasn't for Lans of the Sea clan who seriously injured him, it would be me who died now." "That's true," several people nodded. "Junior sister Lu, you've been hiding too deeply. You've attacked the 5th level formation wizard at such a young age. This talent can be matched with the genius of the inner court formation," Court Penyang praised. In their hearts, they already believed that Lum Wan's talent was stronger than that, but it was difficult to say it. After all, he was in the sect, but they couldn't afford to provoke him. Who is that genius? Lum Wan was unfamiliar with the inner door, but he had heard that there was a 5th level formation genius in the inner door, but he didn't understand it. He is a direct disciple of one of the ancestors of the section. Not only is he a 5th level formation mage, but he is also in the top 10 in the inner sect's strength list, Gu Xiu replied. Jin Se added, "Not only does he have a talent against the sky, but he also has a very deep background. If you enter the inner sect, you should not provoke him. He is very arrogant in the inner sect." Lum Wan asked several people who were very afraid and curious about the so-called formation genius. "No, he is not arrogant, on the contrary, he is very low-key." Gu Xiu paused and said, "But no one dares to provoke it, otherwise the end will definitely be miserable." Lum Wan's eyes showed a hint of interest. "I feel a little bit wanting to meet that senior brother after hearing what you guys said." A few people twitched the corners of their mouths. Everyone else was hiding from that person. She actually wanted to meet her. She was a lunatic. Along the way, a few people chatted for a while, and then they practiced in their cabins. After returning to the sect, Lum Wan greeted a few people and ran back to the yard to retreat. In the cave at the bottom of the river, she broke through to the peak of the sword sect with the energy of the birth of the luminous stone, and when she fought with Shen Mufeng, she caught a sense of comprehension of the wind element, so she calmed down and settled down to consolidate her cultivation. Look for that comprehension. A little bit of time passed, and a month later, Lum Wan opened her eyes, and her beautiful eyes were full of light. Taking advantage of this period of time, she not only stabilized her cultivation base, but also raised it to a peak state, and she can break through to Sword Sovereign at any time as long as there is an opportunity. As for the perception of the wind element, I also caught a hint of inspiration, and the introduction door has been completed. Then she took out the crystal nucleus of the 9th order white flood dragon and refined a lot of 5th grade medicinal herbs, and she improved a bit in the alchemy technique. A sound transmission floated in from the courtyard. After listening, she immediately got up and flew away in the direction of the courtyard owner. As soon as Lum Wen stepped into the yard, she saw the beautiful woman leaning lazily on a rocking chair drinking tea. She walked over with a smile on her lips. The disciple pays a respect to the head of the house. She saluted the disciple. Huo Linglong opened her eyes, and a layer of soft color overflowed in Xing's eyes. Little girl, your cultivation speed is so fast. The last time she saw Lum Wen, the girl's cultivation was only a middle-level sword sect, and she reached the peak of the sword sect in just 1 year. The speed of this kind of cultivation is too fast. The head of the hospital came to me today. Isn't it just to praise my fast cultivation speed? Lum Wen was not restrained in front of Huo Linglong, went to sit in front of her, and poured a cup of tea by herself. Not only was Huo Linglong not angry, but her smile was even more intense. Lum Wen's temperament was very much to her taste. I heard that you are already a 5th level formation mage. Lum Wen picked up the teacup and took a sip. Her lips and teeth were fragrant. Then can I understand it this way, as a talisman academy, you are actually a 5th level talisman? Huo Linglong raised her eyebrows slightly, with all kinds of charm. Almost, Lum Wen said modestly. When Huo Linglong heard her say that, she immediately sat up straight and looked at her with burning eyes. Are you serious? How dare I deceive the master of the hospital? Lum Wen blinked and said. Your talent is too scary. Huo Linglong sat up straight and tapped her fingers on the table. The head of the court has often come to visit me recently. Lum Wen played with the teacup and looked up at her, without saying anything, to listen to her next words. They all want you to go to the court to practice. Huo Linglong raised her eyes and looked at Lum Wen playfully. Do you think I should let him go? Lum Wen chuckled and asked with a cunning smile, then the head of the house, will you let him go? Of course not. If anyone dares to dig into my mother's corner, she will beat him to death, Huo Linglong said domineeringly and arrogantly. That's okay, the hospital owner has already made a decision, so why bother to test me again? Lum Wen leaned back in the chair lazily, and continued to speak. I have no idea of changing the hospital. Very good, you really didn't disappoint me. Huo Linglong reached out and patted Lum Wen on the shoulder and said, I believe you won't disappoint me in the battle for the inner court quota in a month. Lum Wen put away a bit of indifference, and looked straight at it. Is the competition for the inner courtyard ahead of schedule? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My evil imperial wife is too arrogant, trash against the world. BlackBelly evil wife is too arrogant. Author, Lan by Gezi. Chapter 383. Lum Wen was surprised that the assessment for the promotion of the outer disciple of the 6 major sects to the inner disciple usually took half a year. According to the past practice, the competition for the inner sect disciples should be assessed after half a year, but because the inheritance land is about to open, the competition between the 6 sects will also be earlier, so the assessment time has been changed together, Huo Linglong explained. Lum Wen frowned slightly and asked, does the sect's big competition have a lot to do with the inner sect assessment? Of course, the places for the sects in the inheritance land are all determined by the big competition. The sects that have won the most have the most places, and the sects that have won the most places are naturally allocated the least. The most important thing is that this year, I don't know what the madmen at the top are talking about. The people who ask the sect master to participate must be new inner disciples. That's why the upper ranks of the 6 sects are so eager to take part. The time is ahead. Huo Linglong pouted, obviously not showing much respect to the great masters above. Lum Wen really liked the temperament of this courtyard owner. He was hardy and domineering, but he was extremely protective of his shortcomings. When she returned to the sect, she ran to exchange the 100,000 sect contribution value, but some elders couldn't see it and said that she killed Shen Mufeng only because she took advantage of it, and suggested to exchange only 50,000 sect contribution value. Before she went into a rage, Huo Linglong went into a frenzy, wielding 2 giant axes to beat up the elder in charge of the Zongmen's contribution value exchange hall, and finally made trouble with the sect master. Of course, her 100,000 sect contribution points are also in the bag, and she only needs to be promoted to an inner sect disciple to exchange heavy water. What does the homeowner want me to do? Lum Wen asked Huo Linglong with a half smile but not a smile. Huo Linglong's gorgeous face showed arrogance. I want you to enter the inner door in a high-profile manner, and your talents in formation, talisman, alchemy, and tool refining can all be revealed. Can you give me a reason? Lum Wen knew that Huo Linglong would not make such a decision suddenly. Little girl, sometimes it's a good thing to know how to hide, but it's also necessary to properly reveal your strengths. Huo Linglong said earnestly, with your talent, you will definitely represent the Beiji sect to participate in the competition of the 6 major sects. Only if you perform better in the competition for the inner sect, the sect will give you money after you enter the inner section. You provide the highest quality resources to improve. After all, the sect also wants to get a few more places to enter the inheritance land. The head of the house means that if my performance is average, the sect will not spend a lot of resources to train me. Lum Wen thought about it and asked. She was going to enter the inner door in a low-key manner, but it seems that it is difficult to implement now. The resources of the flower will naturally not be stingy, but some special resources cannot be enjoyed, Huo Linglong said in a low voice. For example, entering the core secret area of the sect to understand the formation, refining, alchemy, and talisman. The chance to wait for the spell is absolutely gone. The core of the sect, Lum Wen thought about it and guessed something. Yes, each sect has its own secret place, and there is a mysterious enlightenment tower in the secret place. There are very few disciples who are qualified to enter the tower for enlightenment, and now is an opportunity. Because the competition of the 6 major sects this time is linked to the places of inheritance, one of the ancestors of the sect decided to open the Tower of Enlightenment to the newly promoted inner sect disciples with great talent. Huo Linglong looked at Lum Wen with a look of trust and said, I hope you win this rare opportunity. Lum Wen was silent for a moment, then raised her eyes and jokingly said, Is this a leak, the head of the hospital? Did I say something just now? Huo Linglong blinked her eyes and said, When people are old, their memory is not good. I really don't want to remember what I said. Lum Wen smiled happily. The head of the hospital was discussing the spirit tea in the cup with me just now. Yes, let's discuss spirit tea. Huo Linglong gave Lum Wen a very polite look. The fact about the opening of the comprehension tower is indeed a secret. She doesn't know if other hospital masters will reveal it, but she knows that if she doesn't mention it, the little girl Lum Wen will definitely hide her strength in the assessment of promotion to the inner sect. Housemaster, I brewed a few pots of spirit wine for beauty, and energy refining some time ago. I wonder if you are interested. Lum Wen accepted Huo Linglong's kindness, and naturally wanted to repay one or two. Getting along between people needs to maintain each other, and expecting others' unilateral efforts will never be recognized. Huo Linglong's eyes lit up. Of course I'm interested. Lum Wen took out a pot of honey spirit fruit wine and a pot of blood sac wine and put it on the table, and said with a meaningful smile, I won't disappoint the host, and I will make a face for you when the time comes. In the past, the Fusuan Academy was the bottom of the sect for Xianxia, and since it can't be low-key, it can only be high-profile. Giggle. Huo Linglong picked up a pot of spirit wine and opened the lid and smelled it. Little girl is just likable. Immediately, she opened her beautiful eyes and asked tentatively, You said that this spirit wine was brewed by you. Well, I usually like this one. The spirit wine brewed by other people is difficult to enter, so I can only do it myself. Lum Wen shrugged. Huo Linglong rolled her eyes at her, gritted her teeth and said, You girl is not human at all, you are simply a monster. These are 2 pots of 5 grade spirit wine, which means that Lum Wen is actually a 5th grade spirit sommelier. With such a talent, she can no longer find any adjectives to express her feelings. However, she didn't have any jealousy in her heart, instead she was very excited. The stronger the disciple, the more he gave her the face of the principal. There was anticipation in her eyes, and she really wanted to see the day when the old people in the courtyard dropped their jaws. Is there anything else the hospital owner has to do? Lum Wen was horrified by Huo Linglong's hot eyes. Huo Linglong smiled and waved his hand. It's all right, go back and prepare first, I'll wait for you to give me a face in the inner sex assessment. Okay, then I'll leave first. Lum Wen saluted and left. Huo Linglong looked at the disappearing back and the expression on his face subsided a little. Playing with the spirit wine in her hand, she brought up a playful smile on her lips. Little girl, don't let me down. For many years, she hadn't had the idea of focusing on training that disciple. Lum Wen made her have this interest, but it all depends on whether the little girl's performance in the inner sect promotion assessment is worth her betting. After returning to the courtyard, Lum Wen began to retreat again. From time to time, he would go out of the courtyard to the Fusewen Academy to listen to lectures, and go to the Zongmen's library to read some books on Fusewen. A month has passed in a hurry, and the disciples of the outer sect are gearing up to do their best. As long as you enter the inner courtyard of the sect, the future achievements are self-evident, and there is even a chance to soar into the sky, and everyone wants to seize it. Lum Wen felt the momentum and atmosphere of the disciples from the outer sect of the Fusewen Academy, and she felt a little more anticipation in her heart. My evil imperial wife is too arrogant, trash against the world, BlackBelly evil wife is too arrogant author, Lan by Gezi. Chapter 384. The promotion assessment of the inner courtyard was half a year ahead of schedule, and it also became a small prosperous world in the outer section. The disciples of the outer sect basically came to watch the assessment competition without any absence. The outer sect disciples of each court can participate in the evaluation competition for the promotion of the inner section as long as they meet the requirements. They will be selected into the inner section. Those with outstanding results may directly become the core disciples of the inner sect. The soaring opportunity is in front of everyone, it just depends on whether you have the ability to grasp it. Many disciples are excited to sign up to participate. After all, this is an opportunity, and maybe they will enter after playing for a long time. On the day of the inner courtyard promotion assessment competition, the courtyard masters of each courtyard personally brought the disciples who participated in the assessment to the martial field of the sect. The Zongmen martial arts field is usually built specifically for the disciples to practice martial arts. When Huo Linglong brought Lum Wen and a few people to the scene, people from other courtyards had already arrived. Do you think the female Tyrannosaurus's talisman house will be at the bottom this time? The head of the Dan house whispered to the head of the court. The court master had always wanted to dig Lum Wen over, but Huo Linglong slapped his face and punched him out. He was holding his breath. Humph, weren't they the bottom of the Fusewen Academy? I heard that the female Tyrannosaurus's Fusewan Yuan has a 5th level formation mage, and I don't know if it can save a little bit of defeat. He knew that this old man had been thinking about Lum Wen for a long time, but unfortunately he was driven out by the female Tyrannosaurus. The head of the formation court turned black and complained, Lum Wen's place in her talisman court is a waste, and after the end of the inner sect examination, if Lum Wen really shows his extraordinary talent in formation, I must go to the sect master. Where to judge? Hey, the one who took Lum Wen to the Fusewen Academy was a disciple of yours. When he mentioned this, the head of the court was very angry. That disciple named Xue Lan'er dared to do such a thing, but he didn't clean up her immediately. What situation? Xue Linger's array talent is actually quite good. She is already a 3rd level array mage at a young age, and she is also a key target for training in the outer courtyard. But if Lum Wen is confirmed to be a 5th level array mage, she will surely bear the wrath of the master of the array court because of her previous plans for Lum Weian. You'll know if it's a mule or a horse when you walk out. You won't find out until the assessment. Maybe you'll want to go to the female Tyrannosaurus to dig a corner. He heard that Lum Weian could make a third-grade medicinal pill. This old guy is watching his own jokes now, and he will cry in the future. Of course, the premise is that Lum Weian is as evil as rumored. Huo Linglong arranged the seats of Lum Weian and the others and went straight to the chairperson's seat. He glanced at the chairpersons indifferently. Do you want to see my joke? How is that possible? We dare to see your jokes there. The head of the Dan Academy smiled embarrassingly. This female Tyrannosaurus is not only arrogant and tyrannical, but also very powerful. They are not their opponents in head-to-head fights. Huo Linglong snorted and was too lazy to care about them. She would wait to see their jokes. When the time was up, the sect master stood up and encouraged the disciples below, and announced the start of the competition for the inner disciples. The opponent is determined by drawing lots, and any means can be used as long as the opponent's life is not injured in the game. This is also the stipulation of the 6 major sects when they compete, and the high-level sects indirectly encourage the disciples to use more means. Of course, no matter what means you use, you must know the proportions, otherwise once the opponent is fatal or disabled, the sect will deal with it according to the sect rules. Ling Fei Yang, Yan Jun, and Mo Ling all participated in the inner door assessment competition this time, and they performed very well, winning streak. The opponents Lum Weian drew were all middle-level disciples from other schools, and she basically defeated them within 3 moves. The assessment competition was held for 3 days in total. The first 2 days were not very interesting, and the third day was the crucial competition. Lum Weian entered the assessment competition on the third day without any suspense. This time, her opponents will become elite disciples of the outer sects of each hospital. Seeing Lum Weian's languid indifference from the beginning of the competition, Zai Chaishi smiled and said, "It seems that junior sister didn't take the assessment competition into consideration." Lum Weian clasped her hands and replied lightly, "Senior brother is joking, I don't dare to care so much." "It's your turn, I'm waiting for the good news from junior sister," he said meaningfully when he heard Lum Weian's name read below. "Okay, then you just wait." Lum Weian stood up and flew down to the battlefield. Zai Cheshi is a person who cannot be underestimated, and she believes that this man will also be a blockbuster today. After she came to power, a burly-looking disciple also jumped onto the stage, and he glanced at Lum Weian with a bit of disdain in his eyes. "Are you the Lum Weian who picked up 100,000 contribution worth a little cheap?" "It's none of your business." Lum Weian raised her eyebrows, showing no face to this elite disciple of the Refining Institute. "I really don't know what to do, I'll keep you from being arrogant in a while," the burly man snorted coldly. Lum Weian met Shen Mufeng, who was seriously injured and was about to die, and the news that she attacked her to death had already spread throughout the section. Many disciples secretly envy, jealousy and hatred for her easy access to 100,000 sect contribution points. While envious of her luck, many arrogant genius disciples in the outer court also looked down on her, and they didn't even believe that she was a 5th-level formation mage. "If you want to fight, you will fight, so what's the point of talking nonsense?" Lum Weian said indifferently. When the burly man saw that he was despised by Lum Weian, he was furious, and immediately took out a holy treasure-level magic weapon to attack her. Lum Weian didn't even bother to draw his sword against such an opponent, so he took out 2 4th-level talismans and smashed it. As soon as the talisman landed on the burly man, a roaring fire dragon and an ice dragon aroused from the talisman and rushed towards the man fiercely. In one round, he was knocked off the battlefield by the power of the talisman, and the taste of the ice and fire was enough for him to endure for a long time. Looking at Lum Weian's simple and rude movements, many of the disciples present twitched the corners of their mouths. Did this win? Is it that simple? Huo Linglong looked at the face of the master of the Refining Institute, and couldn't help laughing a few times and applauding. Lum Weian is too much to her taste. Is there anything more interesting than using talismans to defeat the geniuses of various courtyards? The next game was not as Hu Linglong expected. The geniuses from each courtyard took turns to fight, and the talisman on Lum Weian's hand smashed the stage no matter who shot or didn't. Her actions also successfully attracted the attention of the suzerain and the heads of the various courtyards. The faces of the remaining disciples who have not yet competed are very strange. The disciples present were envy, jealous and hated again. Isn't it distressing that this woman smashed so many high-level talismans? She doesn't care, they all feel a pain in the flesh, that's money. Linglong Huo, what Lum Weian smashed out now is a 4th level talisman. You couldn't have given it to her. Zwan blasted off the stage and couldn't help but look at Huo Linglong and open his mouth. My evil imperial wife is too arrogant, trash against the world, BlackBelly evil wife is too arrogant. Author, Lan by Gezi. Chapter 385. Bump. Huo Linglong suddenly smashed the table in front of her with a palm, with a bit of violence on her beautiful face. You want to be beaten, right? She raised her eyebrows and watched the ward of the Dan Academy take the initiative to move her fist. I have always been bright and upright in my work, but I don't like to use inappropriate means like the old immortals in your academies. The high-level talisman is made by Lu Girl herself. Seeing Huo Linglong, the head of the Dan Academy wanted to use his fist again, remembering the embarrassing incident that he was beaten by her and couldn't get out of bed for 3 days, his face darkened instantly. Linglong Huo, it's still in the game, don't be so arrogant. The old lady is arrogant, what can you do to me? Huo Linglong narrowed her almond eyes. Seeing this, the sect master hurriedly said, Junior sister Huo, don't get excited, it won't affect you if you fight in front of so many disciples. Humph, this time I'll give the sect master a face. If any of you dare to continue to slander the disciples of the Fuzuan Academy in front of me, the old lady will never give up. The other hospital masters couldn't help shuddering, this female Tyrannosaurus was simply too arrogant. The sect master could only laugh bitterly when he received the grief from the masters of several courtyards. Just kidding, he didn't want to provoke this female Tyrannosaurus. After Lum Weian stepped down from the battle stage, she naturally discovered the scene with her mental strength. Her lips evoked an arc of interest. It turned out that the hospital owner had the nickname Mother Tyrannosaurus in the sect. But whoever has the bigger fist speaks, this timeless truth applies everywhere. The next opponent Lum Weian smoked was Xue Lan'er, and it was unknown if someone deliberately put them together. On the platform, Xue Lan'er can be considered a beautiful woman in the court, but compared with Lum Weian, who is very charming, her beauty and temperament are completely compared by Lum Weian. Looking at Xue Lan'er before, she was quite beautiful, but compared with Lum Weian, she felt like she had fallen into the dust, a disciple of the courtside. Lum Weian is not only the kind of beauty with exquisite facial features, but her beauty is the sublimation of temperament. The wind is light and the clouds are light, like a fairy above the 9 heavens, from time to time showing a kind of publicity and laziness, but also makes people feel heroic and wild. If the two temperaments are placed on others, they may feel abrupt, but they are vividly expressed by Lum Weian. No matter where she goes, her unique temperament is very eye-catching and attractive. Of course, this is also under the premise of strength. If Lum Weian was just a swordsman under the Sword King, she might have long since become a plaything for other powerhouses. Senior sister Xue doesn't know if she can win against Lum Weian, although the other person also agreed that Lum Weian is more beautiful, but Xue Lan'er is their courthouse after all, so she naturally hopes she can win. Senior sister Xue and Lum Weian are both at the peak of the sword sect, but Lum Weian has a 4th level talisman, so it is more likely to win. Actually, senior sister Xue also has a means of concealment. In the end, it is uncertain who will win or lose. That's right, senior sister Xue is the elite of our court. Don't let others' ambition destroy your own prestige. The disciples of Fuzuan Academy looked at the battle platform with anticipation and cheered for Lum Weian. For many years, the Fuzhuan Academy has been at the bottom of the inner disciples assessment competition. This time, Lum Weian and Ziche Shiqiang entered the final day of the competition, which greatly improved their faces, and I hope they can go further. Lum Weian, use whatever means you have. Xue Lan'er also heard the discussion below. She was very confident in her beauty, but she couldn't help but feel jealous in front of Lum Weian. She secretly hated her, and planned to defeat Lum Weian in this battle. Just because you are worthy of my means, Lum Weian raised her eyebrows with a bit of disdain in her expression. She rarely shows this kind of expression to anyone, but she really hates Xue Lan'er, a villain who likes to talk behind her back, and she doesn't bother to use too many tricks on her. Humph, then today I'll let you see if I'm worthy or not. Xue Lan'er had a hideous look on her face. She quickly took out an array flag and started to set up the array. While setting up the formation, he sacrificed 3 defensive holy artifacts and 1 holy treasure to block in front of him, in order to prevent Lum Weian from smashing the 4th level talisman. Lum Weian chuckled, "You don't need to guard me with such a big fanfare. I will use talismans to treat others, but I think it's too wasteful to hit you. You deceive people too much." Xue Lan'er looked at Lum Weian gloomily, her eyes full of killing intent. "Retaliate with your words, and use whatever means you have." Lum Weian didn't want to waste too much time with Xue Lan'er. The conversations and actions of the two were always dominated by Lum Weian. Xue Lan'er was passive, and many disciples felt that Lum Weian was too arrogant. I don't know how long her arrogance can last. After all, Xue Lan'er can be cultivated mainly in the outer sect, and her own strength will definitely not be weak. Xue Lan'er kept forming the formation, and Lum Weian wrapped his arms around her indifferently and looked at her. Looking at Lum Weian's calmness, even the head of the academy felt that she was too much. Xue Lan'er's formation was quickly constructed, and the entire battlefield was suddenly attacked by a cold air, and 4 giant pythons composed of ice energy emerged from the square of the formation, roaring and flying into the sky. The 3rd level highest killing formation, Xue Lan'er was able to set up such a high level killing formation so quickly. "The talent is amazing," a disciple couldn't help but exclaimed. The other disciples of the formation court did not expect Xue Lan'er to hide her strength. According to her talent, there is basically no suspense to become a 4th level formation mage. This killing formation is possible to kill high level swordsmen. Lum Weian is in danger. I heard that Lum Weian is already a 5th level formation mage. It's not certain who wins or loses. You don't see how calm they are now. A 5th level formation mage. Do you believe this rumor? An elite of the formation court said. The genius brother who is popular in the sect in the inner court is only a 5th level formation mage. Lum Weian is a liar. I don't believe it either. I guess her talent in formation is not as strong as that of senior sister Xue. I don't know what she is so arrogant about. How embarrassing she is to be defeated in a while. Look, I'm more willing to believe that senior sister Xue can win. 4 ice pythons roared and fell straight to the top of Lum Yu's cigarette. When he opened his mouth, he spewed out a cold mist. The cold mist also contained countless ice cones. Sieve. Lum Weian smiled playfully, stretched out a hand and pointed at the sky. A huge flame appeared out of thin air and instantly swallowed the 4 mighty ice pythons. She then took out a jade stone and threw it at Wool, and the jade stone turned into an arc and fell on a corner of Xue Lan'er's formation. Break. As soon as her voice fell, she saw that the originally intimidating 3rd level lore formation instantly fell apart. As soon as the formation broke, Xue Lan'er couldn't help spitting out a mouthful of blood. She looked up at Lum Weian in horror and unwilling, and couldn't accept that Lum Weian broke her formation in just one move. It took her 3 years of hard work to learn to build a successful formation. She felt that it was perfect and had no weak points. How could it be broken like this? You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My evil Imperial wife is too arrogant, trash against the world, BlackBelly evil wife is too arrogant author, Lan by Gezi. Chapter 386. Schwellaner clutched her chest, her eyes were bloodshot, she neither believed nor accepted this fact. The ice cone in the sky was completely annihilated by the flames of Yuan Li before it fell, and the battle platform was restored to its original state. It was only a few breaths of time. Lu Muan won as soon as he shot, making many people's eyes widen. Do you think the third-level high-level formation you built is perfect? Lu Muan looked at Schwellaner with a smile. Schwellaner raised her head and glared at her fiercely and said, how did you find that weak point? The weak point of the formation that Lu Muan was looking for was even ignored by her who arranged the formation, but unexpectedly it became the key to breaking the formation. It's good for people to be confident, but being too conceited is doomed to failure. Lu Muan looked at her sarcastically, do you think I will command my enemies? She knew the drawbacks of Schwellaner's formation, but she couldn't wake her up. I didn't use other means to deal with you, I just wanted to completely defeat you. The formation you are proud of is actually so vulnerable. What other means can you use? I will give you another chance. Lu Muan wanted to break Schwellaner's confidence. Schwellaner closed her eyes, and when she opened them, her eyes were much calmer. That's what you said. Immediately, Schwellaner gathered Yuan Li at her feet and walked quickly on the battlefield. The speed was so fast that many people couldn't see her figure clearly, and only saw a few phantoms passing by. Gu Xiu, who was watching the battle from a distance, couldn't help but smiled sarcastically. Since this Schwellaner wants to play in front of junior sister Lu, she's really humiliating herself. Pen Yang and the others had seen Lu Muan's ghostly movement. Who's to blame for sending me to the door to insult me? Jin spouted in disdain. If anyone else dares to slander me behind me, go to the door and beat me to death. Junior sister Lu is still too kind. Gu Xiu and the others couldn't help but twitch their mouths when they heard her words. Lu Muan was too kind? Isn't this sentence too unreasonable? In their opinion, Lu Muan is the most ruthless. If he just beat Schwellaner, he might only be able to vent his anger, but on the battlefield, he would never take the opponent to heart from the beginning to the end, waiting for the opponent to use the most proud and strongest the means, and when she made a shot, she completely destroyed all the self-confidence of the other party. They dared to conclude that if Schwellaner was defeated today, she would definitely have a demon in her cultivation and formation. If she didn't have the opportunity in this life, it would be difficult to move forward. This is really ruthless, attacking the enemy silently, not wanting your life, but letting you step on the cloud into the quagmire. After seeing her methods, they decided not to provoke her in the future. Lu Muan was more terrifying than the witch Jin's. Senior sister Shue's speed is so fast, I didn't expect her to have such a body shape. A small follower of Schwellaner in the array court said happily. Yeah. I didn't expect that. She usually hides quite deeply. She has never shown this kind of movement. There were also sour interfaces from people who didn't like Schwellaner. On the battlefield, Schwellaner was constantly shifting and changing positions. She prided herself on being as light as a swallow, but she was like a clown in front of Lu Muan, who was extremely mentally powerful. Pucci, suddenly, several black pills flew out from all directions and exploded in the air instantly. A black smoke lingered, and the smell of choking nose filled the air. That is to eliminate the poison. Schwellaner used such a sinister method to be shameless. The disciples of Fuzhuan Academy couldn't help but curse after recognizing the black pill. As the name suggests, eliminating the toxin is the toxin that can eliminate the energy. Once the swordsman inhales the energy in the mouth, the energy will be lost, and the whole body will be stiff and let others slaughter. Although this toxin is not listed as a banned poison in the mainland, few people will use it. After all, this method is too dark to be used on the table. It's over, junior sister Lu is in danger. Many disciples of the Fuzhuan Academy looked at the battle platform worriedly. The disciples of the array court were also somewhat conflicted at this time. On the one hand, they hoped that Xuelaner would win, on the other hand, they felt that her victory by this method was a bit incompetent. Just when most of the disciples thought that Lum Wen had been eroded by poisonous smoke and left to Xuelaner to deal with, she waved her sleeve, and a blue-black firebird emerged from her sleeve. The firebird chirped, opened its beak and sucked in all the poisonous gas in the air, and showed a humane expression that was still unfinished. Xuelaner, do you still have Xiao Yuan Dan? A few more, Lum Wen said with a smile as she hooked the firebird that flew to her wrist with her fingers. This is the spirit fire she has refined with those snake gallbladders and poisonous poison, and the food she likes most is poisonous poison. Seeing this, Xuelaner was so angry that she spat out another mouthful of blood. She had paid a lot of money to get these origin elimination pills. She thought she could restrain Lum Wen and humiliate her, but she didn't expect it to be resolved with another move. She is not reconciled. Is this woman her nemesis? Since there is no elimination pill, then the game should be over. Lum Wen was a little bit, and the blue-black firebird disappeared from her wrist. A strong sword chi from Xuelaner came from behind. Lum Wen tapped her toes and disappeared in place. The sword chi fell to the ground. Immediately, Xuelaner's body flew upside down from mid-air and landed heavily under the battlefield, and Lum Wen's figure loomed from the air. What surprised the disciples the most was how Lum Wen avoided the sword chi attacking Xuelaner. They didn't see clearly at all. It's really not fun, it won't be beaten like this. Lum Wen frowned in disgust. I thought you wanted to play with you more for the sake of slandering me behind your back, but you're too disappointing. You. Xuelaner didn't expect that. Apart from the fact that Lum Wen broke her proud formation with a single blow, the movement that she had kept secret for so long as her trump card would be so vulnerable in front of the opponent. At this moment, she suddenly felt disheartened. She was not reconciled, and she couldn't believe that she was so well prepared that she was so easily defeated by a nasty woman. Stealing chickens won't cost you rice, old man Luo. There are quite a lot of scum in your court. Do you need my disciples to help you clean up the door? Ling Longhuo glanced at Xuelaner, who couldn't accept the facts in disgust, and picked on. Mei said to the head of the court. The head of the court had a gloomy face and snorted coldly, you don't need to be kind. This Xuelaner is really embarrassing. No one else can see the jade that Lum Wen broke through the formation just now, but as a 6th level formation mage, he is very clear. Lum Wen did see through the drawbacks of the formation at a glance, and it is absolutely possible that he has the strength of a 5th level formation wizard as rumored. Xuelaner privately tampered with the number of places to apply for the academy, causing the formation court to lose such an excellent talent. Now that she is defeated in such a humiliating way, the head of the formation court has nowhere to vent. Xuelaner was defeated, but Lum Wen's competition was not over yet. The next one she drew was the first genius of the outer court of beast controlling. As soon as Yinhong stepped onto the stage, like Xuelaner, he first took out some defensive sacred artifacts and placed them in front of him to prevent Lum Wen from smashing the talismans. Immediately, his mind moved, and 2 7th order monsters and an 8th order monster emerged from the spirit beast ring, instantly surrounding Lum Wen. Lum Wen blinked her eyes, hugged her hands and laughed lightly, you actually want to play a gang fight with me? My evil imperial wife is too arrogant, trash against the world, BlackBelly evil wife is too arrogant. Author, Lan by Gezi. Chapter 387. Among the outer disciples, Yinhong was the focus of attention and training by the sect master and several elders. Because of his strong spiritual power, his talent for controlling beasts was no less than that of the disciples of the beast-controlling sect. Wow, senior brother Yin actually contracted 2 7th order and 1 8th order spiritual pets. This is too powerful. Seeing the powerful monster that suddenly appeared on the battlefield, the disciples below couldn't help but exclaimed. Junior sister Lu, your talismans and formations are too strong, I can only use this trick to win more than less. Yinhong hugged Lum Wen and smiled. Although he is a sword master himself, his strength is very average, and he relies on the combat power of spiritual pets. He originally thought that a disciple who had just entered the school for more than a year would be easy to deal with, but after watching all the battles with Lum Wan, he did not dare to underestimate her, and as soon as he came to power, he inspired the strongest tactics. He is a spirit beast master, so it won't make people feel despicable even if he beats others with more bullying, because that's how the battle with the spirit beast master is. Bullying more with less, so you know my hobbies. Lum Wan chuckled and blinked her eyes innocently. Yin Hong saw that her face was still calm, and he didn't understand what she meant. What does it mean to know her hobbies? Does this woman like being bullied? I don't even want to look at it. Isn't Lum Wan frightened by senior brother Yin's spiritual pet? It's possible that senior brother Yin's combined combat power of the three monsters is dozens of times stronger than Shui Lan'er. She said that because she was afraid of being outmatched. Who knows, see how she copes. Just when all the disciples thought that Lum Wan might continue to smash talismans or arrange formations to deal with Yin Hong's spiritual pet, they saw that her eyes softened a lot and muttered to herself. Since the other party wants to compete with spiritual pets, you should go up and play with them. Before the others understood what she meant, they saw the colorful parrot on her shoulder instantly transform into a huge blue bird. The two wrists flashed a white light and a golden light respectively, and a giant python with sharp horns on its head and two large snow-white bodies bulging on its back fell onto the battlefield. Then a golden vine climbed up from all sides of the battle platform, and countless vines swayed, giving people a feeling of numbness on the scalp. The size of a slap, the half-human figure Chifen with soft light and transparent wings fluttering out of her sleeve tried to get up, but was caught by Lum Wan. Don't follow along and join in the fun. Chi Huang blinked aggrievedly, Master, I want to play too. Lum Wan rolled her eyes at her and threw an elixir over, fighting is no fun. Although the Empress Chifen was promoted very quickly, her body was relatively fragile. Lum Wan didn't want this little thing who had defeated many of her family members to be injured. Chi Huang's eyes lit up as soon as he saw the medicinal pill, and his thoughts about joining in the fun instantly faded. He hugged the medicinal pill and ran to Lum Wan's shoulder to chew on it. Are these all 8th order spiritual pets? The disciples below felt stunned by the aura of the monsters released by Lum Wan. Meow Meow and Shui both advanced to the 8th order after taking the medicinal pills and blood essence refined by the 9th order monsters, and due to the particularity of their blood, they were considered semi-invincible in the 8th order. What? Lum Wan is still a spirit beast master, many disciples were in an uproar. According to the rumors, Lum Wan could refine talismans, arrange formations, and refine medicinal pills. Unexpectedly, she was still a high-level spirit beast master. Is this going to blind them? She succeeded. Yin Hong watched Lum Wan's 3 spirit pets beat up his own spirit pets as soon as they appeared, and his 3 spirit pets didn't even have the strength to fight back, so he couldn't help being stunned. After carefully looking at Lum Wan's spiritual pet, he was completely stunned. The Ice Luan mythical beast at the peak of the 8th order, the white python that is about to turn into a dragon, and the man-eating bloodthorn vine monster plant, which is hard to find in the world. If he read it right, the translucent human-shaped monster she captured just now was actually Chifeng Empress. After reading Lum Wan's spiritual pet, Yin Hong's previous arrogance completely dissipated. After a while, everyone saw that Wan's 3 spirit pets on the battle stage beat Yin Hong's monsters into screams as if they were playing tricks. Yin Hong's scalp was numb, and he knew that he lost today, and he lost completely without complaining. Junior sister Lu, I lost. I wonder if you can let your spiritual pet raise your hand. Seeing that his spiritual pet was about to be maimed, he immediately folded his arms and conceded defeat to Lum Wan. Lum Wan smiled and said, Senior brother has given up. Immediately, she brought back the 3 spirit pets who had not played enough. It was nothing to beat the other party's spirit pet, and it would be bad to continue playing to death. This Lum Weian's talent is too perverted, a disciple couldn't help but muttered. Being able to easily defeat the first genius of the outer courtyard of the Beast Control Academy in the same way, it can be predicted that Lum Weian is definitely better than Yin Hong in terms of talent for controlling beasts. She was called a mission madman before. How could she complete so many advanced missions without any ability? Yeah. The women of our sect are powerful one by one. This time, the Fuzwen Academy finally regained a lot of face. Then, on the first day of the Dan Academy and the Refining Academy, they also got to fight with Lum Weian. Lum Weian didn't take any more shots, and continued to smash the 4th level talisman, and got a few of them, making the two of them annoyed but helpless. The disciples below were discussing in a low voice, and the several principals above were not calm. The last match is the duel between Emperor Killing Heaven and Lum Weian, right? The head of the Refining Institute asked pointedly. On the first day of their Refining Academy, Fuzwan had just knocked them off the stage, and in their hearts, they also hoped that people from other schools could poke at the arrogance of Huo Linglong and Lum Weian. Emperor Killing Heaven is not only the most dazzling genius of the outer court, but also the younger brother of the inner court's genius. Moreover, De Tian Tian was a 4th level formation mage and also a powerful swordsman, so Lum Weian would definitely have no good fruit to eat. The somber face of the court master of the Imperial slaughtering array was much better. The two of them defeated other opponents, and they will naturally meet in the end. The head of the court still believed that he would focus on cultivating the more optimistic Emperor Killing Heaven to win Lum Weian. What about the first person in the outer court? The little girl in our court can still take care of him obediently. Huo Linglong sneered at the joy and triumph in the eyes of the court master. After watching the competition for so long, she also knew that De Tian Tian and Lum Weian were the two strongest disciples of the outer sect. Huo Linglong knew that Emperor slaughtered the heavens. In addition to their strong backgrounds, the talents of the two brothers could also be ranked in the top 10 in the Beiji sect, so they received much attention from the above. If Lum Weian could defeat the Emperor Killing Heaven today, the resources he would get after entering the inner door would definitely be different from other disciples. Of course, the corresponding pressure is absolutely proportional to the cultivation resources. With Lum Weian's intelligence, she will understand this. It depends on how she chooses. My evil imperial wife is too arrogant, trash against the world. BlackBelly evil wife is too arrogant. Author, Lan by Gezi. Chapter 388. Lum Weian was victorious all the way, and he soon faced off against De Tian Tian, who was also victorious all the way. The Emperor kills the sky, his facial features are deep, and the outline is as clear as the carving of a blade. The red clothes of the 8 extreme sects make his strong figure more tall and straight, and his imposing manner is like a rainbow, giving people a sense of wild arrogance. He strolled to the battle stage, his dark eyes stretched as far as the eye could see, and Zhang Yang swept the Lum Weian recklessly. There was no surprise in his eyes, no disdain, only a strong sense of interest. While Emperor Killing Tian looked at Lum Weian, she was also looking at the man who was rumored to be one of the two arrogances of the 8 extreme sect. The breath exuding from his body is that of a mid-level sword sovereign, but Lum Weian still felt a very faint sense of depression. This man has restrained a lot of his breath, and his strength should be very strong. While the two looked at each other, the outer disciples present all looked at Emperor Killing Heaven with admiration. Senior brother Emperor is too manly. If you can marry him, this life will be enough. A woman who admired Emperor Killing Heaven said madly. Forget it, a man like senior brother Emperor is not something we can care about. The female disciple next to him sighed. Even if I can really be his concubine, such a wild and domineering man is not something I can control. Senior brother Emperor and Lum Weian don't know who will win, a disciple said. Why do you need to ask such an obvious question? Of course it's senior brother Emperor. Although Lum Weian said that the talent of the formation method is not bad, it is still too tender. The disciples of the Fuzwan Academy were worried. Junior sister Lu doesn't know if she is sure of the Emperor Killing Heaven. How can you be sure? Emperor Killing Heaven is different from those who were defeated by junior sister Lu before. In addition to his amazing talent in formation, he is also the #1 person in the outer section. It is even said that he can rank among the top 3 in the inner section 10. Actually, even if junior sister Lu loses to Di Tian Tian, it doesn't matter. She has already fought for our Fusewin Academy. Yeah. The performance of her and Zi Chase, she has already overwhelmed the elites and geniuses of other academies. In the future, who would dare to look down on our Fusewin Academy? On the seat of the head of the house, a ray of light flashed across the head of the Refining Institute. The UN force fluctuations on Emperor Killing Heaven's body have become much deeper. Emperor Killing Heaven is worthy of being the first person in the outer courtyard of the formation. Although he is only a mid-level sword master, he is afraid that it will be difficult for a sword master at the peak of the sword to win, the grey beard praised. The head of the Refining Institute showed a bit of regret. Lu Muan's talent is really good, but it's not enough to look at when God kills the sky. Seeing Huo Linglong glance over coldly, he immediately added, "Of course, if you give her a certain amount of time to grow up, it shouldn't be bad." "Humph, you blind old people," Huo Linglong snorted coldly, a hint of sarcasm on her lips. She waited to see a few immortals drop their chins. On the battlefield, Diji Tianhuan looked at Lu Muan with a smile and said, "Junior sister, if you only have the means to smash the 4th level talisman, then there is no need to compare. A 4th level talisman can't hurt him, but a 5th level talisman could threaten his life. Senior brother, just use whatever means you have." "Junior sister, just follow your instructions," Lu Muan said casually, playing with a strand of blue silk. The disciples below twitched the corners of their mouths when she said this. "Do you want to be so arrogant?" "Haha, junior sister is crazy enough, then let me learn from you." Di Tian Tian laughed loudly, took out a few array flags and began to set them up. He kept stamping into the formation flag, and saw a trace of warm light penetrate into the formation. Lu Muan squinted his eyes and chuckled. "Senior brother's formation is really powerful. The 4th level Sun Fine Gold formation is not something that ordinary people can set up. It turns out that junior sister is also a person in the Tao. I have seen through my formation as soon as I started to arrange it. The color of interest in Di Shishan's eyes was even stronger. I am looking forward to your solution." "Okay." Lu Muan's eyes were full of fighting intent. "The Golden Sun Array can be attacked and defended. It can be regarded as a relatively difficult high-level formation among the 4th level formations. The person who needs to arrange it not only has high mental power, but also needs to understand the 3 attribute elements of gold, fire, and wind. The power of this formation does not come from the spirit stone, but from the sunlight. As long as the sun does not fall, the formation can run forever. Moreover, this formation can be continuously upgraded." She once saw a large sex guardian formation when she was in the immortal cultivation realm, which was an enhanced version of the Sun Fine Gold formation. While Emperor Slaughtering Heaven was making arrangements, Lu Muan no longer hesitated, took out a few refined formation flags and began to arrange 3 small formations. Di Tian Tian inserted the main formation flag into the formation, and suddenly golden lights flickered one after another, forming a translucent mask. The mask contains a hot energy fluctuation, and the protective power that overflows can definitely resist the bombardment of Sword Sovereign's cultivation. At the same time, when the Emperor Slaughtering formation was arranged, Lu Muan's 3 small formations were also arranged. The 3 formations exuded 3 dazzling light colors of gold, green, and red. She entered a magic formula, and the 3 light colors instantly joined together. The 3 rays of light instantly formed a mask, and the power that overflowed from it was no weaker than that of the heaven slaughtering Sun Fine Gold array. What? She was able to set up 3 miniature 4-level high-level formations at the same time. The head of the formation court couldn't help but exclaimed. The head of the Dan Academy watched the green and red formations gradually become hotter. Her dual attributes of fire and wood have already realized the peak of the great accomplishment realm. If there is an opportunity, she can definitely go to the next level. Such a feeling, if the talent is used in alchemy, it is entirely possible to become an alchemist above the 5th rank. The head of the Refining Institute slapped the table in front of him and said a little excitedly, "Metallic vitality is about to realize the Dachan realm, and coupled with the fire energy of the peak Dachan realm, Lumwian is a good seedling for refining." In the past, I just listened to Aorong's constant praise of Lumwian's talent. After all, they hadn't seen her with their own eyes, so although they usually paid attention to her, they didn't pay such attention to her. Her mental strength is very strong, even better than the first genius in the outer courtyard of our beast-controlling courtyard. If you enter the inner door and go to the beast-controlling courtyard to practice, you will definitely be able to go to the next level. The eyes of the master of the beast-controlling courtyard flicker. After the disciples of the outer sect participated in the selection and assessment of the inner sect, they would have to reselect the qualifications for changing the school. As for the things that the head of the beast-controlling house could think of, the heads of the other houses naturally made small calculations in their hearts. Huo Linglong glanced at a few people lightly and didn't bother to argue with them. Anyway, if anyone dared to fight her for Lumwian, she would definitely demolish someone's courtyard wall. Seeing Huo Linglong's gloomy eyes, the suzerain smiled shyly and said, "Let's take a look at Lumwian's performance first. Let's start the war." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My evil imperial wife is too arrogant, trash against the world. BlackBelly evil wife is too arrogant. Author, Lan by Gezi. Chapter 389. The sect master's words made several of the house masters present involuntarily turn their attention to the battle platform. As soon as Dishishan's golden sun array was constructed, wisps of sunlight swayed down, and the entire battlefield was surrounded by warm sunlight. When the sun filled the formation, 3 golden beams suddenly erupted from the formation and attacked Lumwian in unison. Lumwian put her hands together and clicked on the 3 formations that were connected together. 3 rays of red, gold, and green erupted from the formation. The 6 rays of light with strong formidable energy gathered together and exploded in mid-air in an instant, cancelled each other out and disappeared in the sky. There was a strange color in Dishishan's dark eyes. It is rumored that junior sister Lu is already a 5th level formation mage. I sneered at it before, but now I can't help but believe it after seeing junior sister's 3 mini formations. Senior brother's golden sun array is not weak, not to mention that you have hidden your strength. You must already be a 5th level array mage. Lumwian raised her eyebrows and smiled. Emperor Killing Heaven obviously hides his strength, and now it seems that his talent is no worse than that of the legendary one, and he is definitely the best among the array wizards of the younger generation. Junior sister has good eyesight. Since we are all 5th level formation wizards, why don't we have a good discussion today? Tian was full of interest. His older brother, Lonely Leng Ao, had nothing in common with him, let alone discussing formations together. Could it be that he met a strong opponent today, and his competitive spirit also appeared in his heart? No opponent is lonely, and it is something he has long been looking forward to meet a strong array mage to learn from. Okay. Then senior brother, show your true strength and let us compete. Lumwian hooked her lips into a bright smile. Isn't it? A disciple was shocked when he heard the conversation between the two. Both of them are still hiding their means. Are they really 5th level array masters? The ability to build a high-level formation that combines 4-level defense and attack so quickly is not something that ordinary wizards can do. If both of them hide their strengths, it is entirely possible for a real level 5-level wizard, the elite of the Magian courtside. Brother Emperor is a 5th level array mage. Although the news is amazing, it is acceptable. But if Lumwian is also a 5th level array mage, it would be too shocking. How old is she? The disciple of the array court. In my heart, I sighed that people were more popular than dead people. If Lum Wan is also a 5th level formation mage, it means that his talent is better than that of the two brothers. After all, she is only 18 years old, and the Emperor is already 22 years old. Few people in the inner sect can surpass such talent. No wonder Elder Aorong dug up the section. Yeah. Not to mention her age, I don't think there is anything, but the 18-year-old Jian Zone Peak Cultivation base is also a genius in the section. I'm afraid this battle tower Muan will soar into the sky today. But even if Lu Muan is a 5th level formation mage, I am more optimistic about senior brother Emperor. If there is no accident, brother Emperor may win 90% of the time. He is not only a 5th level array master, but also a sword master. The voices below fluctuated constantly, and all the disciples were full of expectations for the next battle between the two. But this time, although more people are optimistic about Emperor killing heaven, no one is slandering Lu Muan. Her talent and strength have won the approval of most outer disciples. Di Tiantian quickly took out a cyan banner and threw it at the formation. The banner merged with the warm sunlight above the formation, and cyclones formed in the formation in an instant. Just because of the addition of this wind attribute array flag, the Sun Fine Gold array was placed in a wind-killing array, and the rank of the array was also raised from the 4th level to the 5th level. Then one after another tornado swept out from the array and blew in the direction of Lu Muan. Lu Muan's comprehension of the wind element in the battle with Shen Mufeng just triggered the entry, and now he is looking for an opportunity to comprehend, and his eyes light up when he sees the tornado condensed with the wind element in the Emperor's slaughtering heaven formation. When her mind moved, a layer of soft glazed light covered her whole body, which was a sign that she had reached the 3rd level in her practice of witch gods. To the next level. She closed her eyes and moved her ears quietly, listening to the sound of the tornado. Afterwards, her hands were constantly knotted, and a dark array flag in her hand detached and slowly unfolded in the air. A strip of green branches and leaves with devouring power spread from the formation on the left, a blossoming fire lotus floated out from the formation in the middle with scorching power, and the golden needles formed by the condensed gold energy all rose from the end. A formation flew out. Because of the addition of the black formation flag, Lu Muan's 3 light body protection formation also stimulated the power of the killing formation, and the level changed from level 4 to level 5. Oh my god! Senior brother Emperor and Lu Muan are really 5th level formation wizards. A disciple of the formation court couldn't help covering his mouth and exclaimed when he saw that the two were fighting at a deeper level. Hearing the two of them talking before guessing was one thing, but seeing with their own eyes that the two of them constructed a 5-level formation like this really made the disciples present couldn't believe their eyes. And from a visual point of view, it seems that Lu Muan's formation is even better. This world is really mysterious. The head of the array court couldn't help but stand up from his seat and looked at the two people on the battlefield with excitement. The look in his eyes as if he had seen a treasure could not be ignored. I didn't expect Lu Muan and Di Tiantian to have such a high talent in formation. The head of the refining institute frowned, thinking to what extent would the two of them be able to refine weapons. His idea was also the idea of other courtyard masters, and even Huo Linglong, who had long known that Lu Muan was a 5th level array mage and a talisman master, couldn't help but marvel. The means for the two to directly integrate elements into the 4th level array to upgrade to the 5th level array is that some senior 5th level wizards cannot do it, and they are still offensive and defensive. On the battlefield, Lu Muan abruptly opened his eyes, and in an instant, branches, fire lotuses, and golden needles attacked Di Tiantian in unison, and deliberately staggered the tornadoes. Di Tiantian frowned in surprise. With the strength of Lu Muan's 3 killing formations, he could completely face his tornado. Why did she deliberately stagger it? Although he was puzzled, he didn't dare to be careless. He immediately started the strengthening defense of the Sun Fine Golden Array, and he also had a cyan longsword in his hand. After injecting UN force, he swung his sword and slashed away, and the blue ripples spread out from the space, but they did not directly attack Lu Muan, but smashed into the tornado. With the addition of cyan ripples, the speed of the tornado was significantly increased countless times, and the wind gradually became stronger. Emperor Slaughtering Heaven's wild and handsome face had a confident and wanton smile. This was Fen Yuanli's unique skill after he realized Dachan. I hope Lu Muan won't lose so quickly. Then he immediately took action to deal with the cohesive power continuously delivered from Lu Muan's 3 circles. Lu Muan saw that the tornado of Emperor slaughtering the sky was coming more powerfully. Not only was he not afraid, but he showed an unprecedented interest. He broke away from the defense protection of the 3 formations with his toes, and took the initiative to drill into the tornado directly. Oh my god! Lu Muan is crazy. My evil imperial wife is too arrogant, trash against the world, BlackBelly evil wife is too arrogant. Author, Lan by Gezi. Chapter 390. When everyone saw the 2 battle formations, they only felt extremely gorgeous, and they were astonished as never before. This was the first time they had seen the 5th level formation masters directly set up the formation. But what did they see at the critical moment of the battle? Lu Muan escaped from the defensive protection of the formation, ran to the vicinity of the tornado condensed by the 5th level formation of Emperor Slaughter, and took the initiative to get in. What does she want to do? Don't you want to live? Many people couldn't help shouting. Lu Muan is crazy, is she taking the initiative to die? That is the tornado condensed by the 5th level formation. Even if the peak swordsman enters with the flesh, he can't resist and will be torn to pieces. I heard that Lu Muan is also a bodybuilder, and his level is not low. What if it's a body repair? Is a tornado a human body can resist? Even if the body is not crushed, it will be seriously injured. This woman is just crazy. Gu Xiu's eyes widened in disbelief. Junior sister Lu is not crazy. Pen Yang stared at the tornado, looking for the red figure. Since Jin Se and Lu Muan came into contact, she didn't think she was such an impulsive person, but there was still a bit of worry on her face. Maybe junior sister Lu has some purpose, she won't make fun of her own life. Yes, this little girl Lu Muan is not a normal person. Let's not look at her with normal people's thinking. Gu Xiu sighed. That girl in the competition space was an unreasonable one. The people in the chair of the hospital were also completely stunned for a moment. The leader of the court smashed the teacup in his hand, and his beard shook with anger. Nonsense, it's just a joke. Such behavior by Lu Muan is tantamount to sending her to death automatically. How could she be so impulsive? I think she did it on purpose. Did she want to use the tornado to find an opportunity to comprehend? The head of the Dan Academy said with a frown. Even if you want to understand something, you shouldn't make fun of your own life. It's crazy. The master of the Refining Institute shook his head with a look of disapproval. Huo Linglong's beautiful face showed a meaningful smile instead. As expected of the person I value, he has courage and courage. Hearing Huo Linglong's passionate words, several hospital masters couldn't help but twitch the corners of their mouths. What did she say? Huo Linglong, her behavior is too crazy. You still support it? It's unreasonable. The head of the court looked at Huo Linglong with a dark face. He finally knew why Lu Muan was so unscrupulously crazy. The feelings were completely taught by the mother Tyrannosaurus. A good seedling was taught by Huo Linglong to have such a temper. What if he was killed or seriously injured by a tornado? He was also going to wait for Lu Muan to enter the inner door and dig her into the court for training. You know, should Huo Linglong glanced at a few people with disdain. She seems to be able to perceive the element of wind, but she is just getting started, so she has to find an excellent opportunity to open this door, and this time the Emperor killed the tornado condensed by the wind element is the best opportunity. But it's too crazy and impulsive to do this. If you don't realize it, you will die. The head of the Dan Academy looked regretful. Huo Linglong sneered. Cultivation of the Tao is something that is against the sky. Only those who dare to fight and break through can truly become strong. Do you know why you are always so weak? You are too greedy for life and fear of death. It's unreasonable. The faces of several hospital masters instantly turned black when they heard Huo Linglong's words. Women and villains are difficult to support. If they don't entangle with her, they can't make sense at all. Huo Linglong didn't bother to pay attention to a few stubborn old guys. She put her mental power on the battlefield to feel Lum Weian's breath. If there was any real danger, she would immediately take action. Not only the disciples off the field and the head of the court were watching this match, but the top 10 core disciples in the inner sect were quietly hiding in a corner to watch. When they saw Lum Weian's crazy behavior, several people showed all their thoughts. Di Shishan watched in shock as Lum Weian took the initiative to dive into the tornado that he had condensed. At first, he didn't understand her behavior, but gradually he found out that she was actually following the tornado's trajectory, and he knew her in a flash. The purpose of this move. She is using her tornado to comprehend the wind element attribute. Although this approach is very dangerous and will kill her if she is not careful, it is undeniably a shortcut to open the door to wind attribute comprehension. His heart was touched at once, and he put away all the contempt he had reserved for Lum Weian before, and looked at not far away with complicated eyes. Crack. Just as he was distracted, a crisp voice suddenly sounded, and as soon as he looked up, he saw a few cracks appeared in the defensive mask of the Golden Sun array. His face changed instantly, and he immediately repaired the seal. The shock in his heart was completely indescribable. The power of the 3 many-killing formations arranged by Lum Weian was so fierce. At this time, Lum Weian, who was quietly following the wind with his eyes closed in the tornado, had no intention of paying attention to the reactions of other people outside. She kept walking with the wind with instant steps, and every time the wind hit her body like 10,000 sharp knives, she would stagger with the wind and avoid it unconsciously. A state that she had never had before came out, her heart moved with the wind, and slowly entered a wonderful situation. The places that were once stuck in the same place and puzzled are also suddenly enlightened with this state of mind and nature. The tornado was constantly scraping and scraping on the battle platform, and the disciples present were staring intently. Suddenly, the 3 killing formations built by Lum Weian were shining brightly. Branches, fire lotuses, and golden needles were continuously sacrificed one after another, with more power than before. The repair speed of Emperor Slaughtering Heaven was obviously not as fast as the attack speed of Lum Weian formation, and cracks appeared from the translucent mask in an instant. Boom! With the final 3-color beam shot down, the Golden Sun array was broken. The Emperor Slaughtering Heaven was shocked, and quickly sacrificed several defensive sacred treasures. The long sword in his hand danced quickly, and the sword energy that broke through the air slashed out one after another. God killing the heavens was very embarrassed by the bombardment of the formations. He approached the 3 formations again and again to find a breakthrough but failed. And because the Golden Sun array was broken, the power support given to the tornado gradually weakened, and the tornado disappeared in the sky after a while. Lum Weian, who was indulging in a state of being unable to extricate herself, suddenly opened her eyes, with a hint of regret in her eyes. If she comprehends for a while, her wind attribute may be able to directly enter the realm of comprehension. Looking down, she saw that Di Tiantian was trying to find the weakness of her formation. She curled her lips and poured a few tricks into the formation. The 3 formations seemed to be alive, and a 3-color ball of light slowly rose from the connected formation, and then hit the Emperor directly at the speed of light.